I am loving her, and I ain't gonna lie. Gotta come a little bit closer just so y'all can see, because honey, y'all saw how that under eye was super duper bright. She's still doing the most. She's still too bright, but I think based off my camera, I might be able to get her to work. I guess on my hair, she look all right, and with that actually sitting there like this creams, and I had to have them, sis. All 5 of them. Here, I just had, we're gonna discontinue it, but I had to pick up their book of shadows, honey. Color grade makes cheap fan, expensive breeze, good times. Why so serious? What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Torrence here, and today is going to be an exciting video. Not only are we playing with the collab palette, but I've also decided to take all the shades out, rearrange them, and create my own color story. I've done this before with a previous video. You can check that out right here. Later on in the week, I will make sure I have a tutorial coming up for that palette, but I wanted to make sure I did one for this one. And before I show you all the inside, I wanted to make sure I show you all what this palette originally looked like. I'm gonna just pop that up right here in front of my face because I want you all to see the original layout before I switch it up. She's absolutely beautiful. As you can see, the swatches were beautiful too. I decided to do 2 rows of 9 just so you all can get the full color story in just 2 slides. But I figured if I rearrange these colors, I can get a better understanding of what the color story looks like. And honey, look at this here. I am so proud of my baby. Look at her. Oh. I know Tina had to be ecstatic when she finally finished this palette and it was looking beautiful. But for me, I wanted to switch things up and I wanted to create 2 9-pan palettes for myself. And I wasn't sure exactly what I were going to name them, but I'm like, Torrence, you got 9 pans. 3 times 3 is 9. So if you pick one palette and give him a name with 3 characters or 3 different words and pick one for the other, you can call that your 3x3. So on this side, we have a neutral palette. As you can see, she has that hot pop of pink. And you know that's crazy when a neutral palette is considered wild with a pop of pink. But I call this side here Before You Know. And I call it Before You Know is because although this is considered a tropical palette, many people like myself have never been to the islands, and I don't think we truly understand how beautiful things can be. So I decided to keep things neutral on this side because before I know how beautiful things are, I'm gonna have to sit back and just assume it. But it's not till you get to this side here and see how colorful things are on this side. And I call this side here After You Go because I truly believe after you visit a place like, honey, I ain't never left the United States. So the idea of going anywhere across the water sounds like a beautiful time to me. So I have this side called After You Go because I believe after you go to the islands, you're going to see just how beautiful things is. You're going to be able to appreciate the culture a lot more. And these blues and greens right here, honey, we got some waters here around Michigan, but I bet you they ain't like island water. And I want to be able to get up and go one day. So we have our whole palette here. Before You Know, After You Go, but all together they make one big palette. This is the tropiCOLOR palette. This is my version of it, and I wanted to make sure I show you all what this looks like up close as well as swatches. If you all would like to recreate this palette for yourself, I'm going to make sure I leave all the shades listed down in the description bar below. I'm going to have the names of the original layout as well as this one here so you don't get confused. But baby, I cannot wait to show you all this look on my eyes because, honey, I had to sit back and say, you know what, Torrence? You're not the biggest fan of blues, but with so many in this palette, there's no way to avoid them. So, if you all would like to see more tutorials with this palette or from sydneygrace, make sure you leave that in the comment section below. If you all are a fan of Tina from thefancyface or sydneygrace, make sure you all give this video a thumbs up. And is there anything else? I don't think so. But before we get into this tutorial, you know I have to bring you swatches. First off, let's get into this packaging, honey. Very reflective, and as you can see, it's called the tropiCOLOR. The tropical part is actually reflective. It's going from blue. It looks like the black on camera, but I'm telling you, this packaging don't got nothing on the color story inside. I was ecstatic to get this palette because you know I absolutely love Tina from The Fancy Face. I have her very first collab with Oden's Eye. If you want to see that, I'll leave that linked above. But before we get to that, honey, you know I got to open it up and show you the inside. And baby, get into this color story. 10 mattes, 8 metallics. We also have dual chromes in here. And honey, if anything, this palette does not say boring, honey. She says neutral on some days, she says colorful on others, but she says fun every day. So you know before we get into this tutorial, I got to bring you all those swatches. And honey, get into these swatches for this neutral side. Because this palette is called tropiCOLOR, honey, there are a ton of colors in this palette. And I decided, Torrence, which one shade do you have to add to the left side to give it some punch? Tropical punch, honey. I'm not the biggest fan of pinks, but I know a lot of people are, so I decided with a bunch of neutrals, she will go ahead and blend in, but baby, she's standing out. So if this is what the neutral colors are looking like, I am excited to see what those colorful shades swatch like. And sis, did the colorful shades come to disappoint? I think not, honey. I think not. Look at how pigmented, how beautiful, how smooth these shades are. And you all know, I'm not gonna lie, I am not the biggest fan of blues, but that shimmery blue in the middle, baby, is popping. I can't see the name of the shade of it right now, but before we start the tutorial, I'll make sure I put that in the description above us. But baby, she is vibrant, and in the future tutorial, I'm gonna have to use her. Alright you guys, as with all tutorials, all tools and products used will be in the description bar below, honey. We got to get things started. If you watched my last video, I posted that video Sunday. I'll leave that link right here above. I was telling you all about how, baby, I had a wonderful weekend for my birthday. I was toed up, and the one thing I had to do that day was wash makeup brushes in my wig. The wig is right there, she is washed. Makeup brushes was washed that same day. So although everything is nice and clean today, it's time to get things dirty. And we are playing with the tropiCOLOR palette. No point of lying. The box is pretty, but it's the same as the packaging, even the information on the back. So more than likely she gonna hit the trash, and we can go ahead and get rid of her now so she don't get in the way. But this palette here, baby, I wasn't supposed to open this. I ordered this for myself for my birthday. I could not wait and hope somebody else was gonna get it. I know they said it was gonna be plenty of it, you know, left and then stop. This was the one item I got myself for my birthday. I wasn't gonna wait for it. And the day it came, as you can see, I immediately got to work and rearranged it. I need to be able to feel comfortable with my color layout, honey. And with this, I see exactly what I wanna do, and I'm like, Torrence, blue shirt. I see more than one shade of blue. I see a transition, a crease, and possibly a outer V shade. I think we might go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and grab me some brushes. And because these shades are not laid out in the order that they came in, I have to look at my little sheet here because, baby, I had to make sure I had my nose down. I wasn't about to get caught up. So I think for this shade, this is called Blue Mahoe. So what we're going to use is, ooh, I almost blinded y'all with the mirror, honey. We got to make sure we pull that back. So what I'm going to do is take our lightest blue shade, this one here. This is called Blue Mahoe. I'm going to use this with my largest, fluffiest blending brush, and we're going to use that as a transition shade throughout our entire crease. Now you all know, blue is not my color, but Tina told us these are some good shadows. We like to step out of our comfort zone, so we're going to take our brush. This is the Redford 27. We're going to dip in there. Ooh, she's nice and buttery, honey. She picked up a nice amount of product, but I don't think we're going to have too much kick up. But just to see, we're going to tap her one. Oh, yeah. Hardly anything. I barely saw that in person. We're going to go ahead and see how much color this gives us, because we can always go back in and build it up later. But because this is a blue, we want to take our time with her. So let's start off outer end. Oh, and just before we get started, I got to let y'all know, I am having some dryness on my eyelid right now. I'm not sure if the camera gonna pick it up, but you can see it right there on that side, as well as right here. So if I do get any patches or anything, that ain't their fault, that's mine. But let's go ahead and get into it because we've been talking long enough. Blue Mahoe, let's see what she get. Okay. First off, before we even blend her out, You see that on camera and I see that in person. All we did was swipe her through, honey, baby. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. This is how a pastel is supposed to show up on the skin, honey. Yes, you're supposed to be light, but you're not supposed to give me trouble with blending or pigmentation. Even light shades are supposed to show up. Baby, oh yeah, I'm gonna go in and do one more layer of that just because I ain't scared. Gonna tap her off again. We're gonna build her in the crease, and this time we're gonna go in and lift that brush up to diffuse those edges. And when I tell you this blue shade is building and blending like a dream, sis. I want to just put a little more right here where I have the bone at. And just because we're going to be over the top, you can take this up as far as you want, as close to the brow bone as you can possibly get her, sis. We're going for the dramatics. Look at that. That alone already has me knowing this is going to be a beautiful look, so I'll be right back. After seeing how beautiful that first shade is, I want to go in and deepen things up with a slightly darker blue. This shade here is called Wolmers, and I'm going to take this with a slightly smaller blending brush, and we're going to take this throughout the entire crease. Okay, and we're going to take our rougher number 15, go into Wolmers, and ooh, Wolmers got a little more kick up and a little more pigmentation it look like on the brush, honey. Gonna go ahead and make sure we tap her off, and yeah, you can see a little more kick up in the air, but it's the pigmentation we after. I don't need her to completely deepen up the crease because we still have another shade, but I need to be able to see a difference when I put these on the eyes. So let's go ahead. All the way lower in the crease. Let's see what we gonna get. Okay, she's deepening things up. And even on camera, you can see that that is a different shade, honey. First layer. We have it in the crease, we haven't diffused it yet, so let's go ahead and lift our brush a little bit. And I think even if you have the most deepest of complexions, you can use this probably even as a transition shade if you wanted a really deep, dark look. But I want to make sure I take this, buff out those edges a little more before we go in with our next layer, because baby, I'm the dramatic queen, honey. I like to go over the top and do a little more. So we're going to go in, pick up some more, dust that off, and see how much building we get. Because baby, even though I consider this a light blue or medium blue, she's definitely deepening up my crease. Baby, in the pan, I thought she would be much more pastel than this. Just want to make sure we don't get no harsh edges, because baby, if you already don't like a color, it's very hard for it to flatter you. So I can't risk a blue being dirty or edgy, but baby, look at that. That's shining from across the room, honey. Let me go ahead, soften that up a little bit more, and we'll be right back. I'm here to tell you all, blues do nothing for me, but so far, I am feeling it. We gotta deepen things up because I see one more darker blue. This last one here is called Negril. We're going to use this with our smallest blending brush, take that into the lowest part of our crease to give us the most depth and dimension. Alright, and to go in with this shade Negril, we're going to take our Redford 14. She's the smallest, and ooh, pigmentation on deck, baby. Let me go ahead and tap her off because we can always come back in and add a little more. And we're going to take this on the lowest, outermost part of our crease and start there and then work her all the way through. And baby, she is truly deep, and I'm glad we got this tiny, tiny little brush, because we can always go back in and add a little more color. I like to get most of that color off the brush and then slightly raise it just to help diffuse those edges. But to get that color that I want directly in the crease, I am definitely going to need a second layer. But with colors like dark blues, dark purples, you want to take your time and blend because you don't want any patchiness. And with a formula like this, it's going to be hard to get any. But baby, look at that. Let me go in and get a little bit more, but this time we want to be careful because just a kick up alone should be enough to give me what I want. So let me give me a little bit more. Tap off just the tiniest bit. We're gonna deepen her up one more time. And then just gonna raise the edges of the brush just to soften those lines, because baby, look at how deep and dark she is. And I think we still got a black in this palette if we wanted to use it. I am loving the shades in here. Ain't no doubt on whether you can see the difference between those two shades, honey. I know you can see that. Now it's time to cover our lids. Honey, I'm still trying to get through this NYX glitter primer. She ain't through yet, but we get closer and closer with every tutorial. We're gonna squirt a little bit of that on the back of the hand. Grab our Morphe M421 brush, and we're just gonna completely coat the lid, top to bottom, left to right, nothing specific. We just wanna make sure we got as much space on the lid as we do for shimmer shade. Wait, that sounded so crazy. We wanna make sure we have as much lid space as possible for our shimmer shades. So we're just gonna take this, put that right down. I like to coat the bottom first, just to remind me not to forget my lash line. Then we're just gonna push this up into the socket and rock her all the way back and forth. Nothing specific, just deep into the crease, but not enough to cover up Negril all the way. And once we have that done, let's cover the rest of the lid. Alright you guys, I've been looking at this palette for about 2-3 minutes and I still can't decide. This shade here has a much more purple undertone. It's called Lignum Vitae, and she's gorgeous. The thing is, during swatches, this shade here, Waterfalls, was like, and I'm like, Torrence, this supposed to be a blue look. What I think we're gonna do, just to satisfy both of them, we're gonna take and put Waterfalls all over the lid, and then we'll take and we'll highlight that shade with this shade here, Lignum Vitae, in the center of the lid. Alright you guys, you know I'm always keep it honest with y'all. This shade here, Waterfalls, with my natural hair brush, she's not giving me quite the pigmentation when I picked her up as I did with the finger. So what I think we're gonna do is apply her all over the lid on one side with this brush, and then we might switch her over with the silicone applicator just to see on the other side. But we're gonna go ahead and layer her down first just to check. Okay, yeah, honey. She cute and all, but something tell me a silicone applicator gonna definitely give me more punch than what this is. Now that second layer is coming through. I will give her that. She is definitely building. But what we're gonna do is just, instead of switching and doing it on both eyes, I'm gonna just do it on the inner half right here with the brush, just so you can see what that shine is like. And then we're gonna grab my Makeup Forever 224 brush, but any silicone applicator will work. We're gonna pick that up with the silicone applicator and see how much pigmentation she give us then. Let me see how she look on the outer half of this eye. Oh yeah. There's no denying that. You can see that with this shade, she's gonna apply best either with your fingers or with a silicone applicator. Baby, I'm getting that high beam, that shine. I am getting more fallout, and it is looking a little chunkier with the silicone applicator. But for me, I don't mind that. And I want to see if I get close enough where you can see. In the front, she is shiny. But in the back, she got way more shine. And honestly, looks like we might have even 2 different colors going on. But we're going to take our silicone applicator and put that on across the eyelid for the entire thing. Because I want a high beam shine, honey. I don't want to be skipping myself. Oh yeah, see honey, now that's how you get somebody's attention across the room with a blue. And to make sure the center lid shade stands out, I'm going to pick back up my Morphe M421 brush. I'm not going to add any extra product, but I'm going to swipe it across the back of my hand just to make sure it's still slightly dampened. And we're gonna just take that and drag that right down the center of the lid. This is just gonna add a little extra tackiness to that area for when we put the shade on top of it. And I'm gonna take my same shader brush that I used at first. We're just gonna flip her over, pick up a little product, and I don't need this shade here to be extremely impactful because I honestly want this blue to stand out, but I just want a tiny little shift in this color here. So we're gonna take our brush and we're gonna try to just slightly pack it in the center first and then slightly buff out those edges. And I need this to just barely seep through. And I use the brush because I know if I use my finger or a silicone applicator, I'm gonna pick up way too much and that color is gonna stand out on its own. I'm trying to get this to look like a faux duo or multi-chrome. I want to come close and see if you all can pick up on that shade there. Are you seeing how in the center I have the slightest amount of purple here? And if I keep building, let me show you. If I were to go right there in the center and put just a little bit more, you can see where that purple is shining on her own. But I want that purple just to come through. So when I sit back and I shift, you see this eye looks a little bit darker now. So when I turn my head, it goes from blue to purple, back to blue. We're gonna go ahead and do this on the other side. I'm sitting back looking like Torrence. Is there anything else you need to do? I think we're gonna call that it for now because I'm looking like Torrence. That's a lot of blue going on. But that purple has helped offsetting it, making me feel a little more comfortable. But we're gonna cut away, finish off the face, and when I come back, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna finish off the eyes. Baby, let me tell y'all, I done made another mistake. My fault, not y'all's, honey, but I'm gonna put y'all in on it. I done accidentally went in with the wrong concealer, and baby, I'm looking like, I know I like a bright under eye, but this is ghastly, like that's ghostly, honey, that's way too bright. What happened is, I noticed I have a little dryness going on. Lately, I've been testing out the Sephora Best Skin Ever Concealer, but I realized that I want a lighter shade of this, and I haven't gone in to I haven't gone in to exchange this one for a lighter shade. So I'm like, you know what, Torrence, because you're feeling dry, you don't want something like this. You want something a little more hydrating, a little lighter. Normally, I will go in with this one right here in front of me. This is my Too Faced Born This Way concealer in Golden Beige. This is my normal highlighting shade, and she's already lighter than my complexion. The thing is, I wasn't paying attention, went to that shelf over there, and grabbed the one that I seen sitting on my brightening shelf, and completely forgot. You see, this shade right here is way lighter than the shade I normally use. I used to take this shade here, which I used all over the face today, Shortbread, and just use this just on the inner corners or maybe right here just to give a little extra pop of brightness. I done accidentally took Shortbread and put her all over the face, baby, and I'm gonna be able to fix her, but it was just, she took some work. So, baby, make sure if y'all going in and y'all highlighting, do not go way too like I did. Shortbread is not my color, so we're gonna make sure we put her to the side so we don't make that mistake again. What else do we got going on? Oh, once I realized I went too much on the highlight, and I'm like, Torrence, everything else needs to be laid back and subtle because the eyes are already gonna take over. Bright under eye is gonna make that stand a little bit more. So I'm like, use products you know and love so you don't have too much going on. For blush, went to the favorite, Serafina, because I knew I wanted something pink. This bright skin with this light under eye, I'm like, Torrence, although you want pink, do not get nothing bold, vivid, and bright, because I wanted to use a MAC Extra Dimension Skin Finish blush. I said, no, she's shimmery, honey. She gonna draw attention. Keep on with Serafina. For lips, once again, we need something muted. We need something soft. If you put on something glossy or shiny, it's gonna compete. It's gonna draw more attention. So I just took the MAC lip pencil in the shade Soar just because I want to finish her up. This isn't something I would normally wear, but I'm like, Torrence, this is a color that's bold enough to stand out on its own, not need a liner. You can fill in your lips, keep it moving. I was gonna top her off with a gloss, but I'm like, you know what, Torrence? Shiny lips draw attention. Keep this matte, keep it moving. For the lower lash line, because I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I'm just not the biggest fan of Urban Decay blues, even though I think they're, what is this? The 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencils are my favorites. Which blue shade is that they get that I just don't like? Roxy. She just don't do it for me, and I believe I used Roxy on the last one, so it's like, okay, Torrence, we gotta find something else to use. What do we get? What do we get? Let me pull this right here. And so what I did was pull out their tealish shade. This one here is called Deep End. As you can see, she's a little more green than my eyes, but I'm like, Torrence, that'll give you a reason to add a little green on the lower lash line. So I went ahead and snuck her in there. For anything else, do we have anything else? Oh, highlighter, honey. Because I figured we was already going over the top. I did not want to stick with just my normal basic highlighter. I'm like, Torrence, your, what is this? MAC Oh Darling. That's what I would normally use. She has a goldish hue to her. But I'm like, she basic. You want something over the top. So even though I'm supposed to be subtle and I knew I went over the top with the highlight, I figured, come on, keep on going over the top with the highlight. Baby. And so I have this shade here, Soft Frost. I never use this shade because you can look at her and tell, like, what am I going to do with this? I think she shifts from like a pink to a purple, but with a white base, honey, she is not my shade. But today she giving just enough drama to go ahead and accentuate that blue. Not sure. Oh yeah, there you go. You can see her on camera. She really helps that blush stand out. I got a little bit right here on the forehead as well, but I'm like, Torrence, you can only do so much. With this being cool toned and you already highlighting too much, you don't want things coming off looking great. So put that down after you do that much, and let's get back into it. I'm looking around again now, and I really don't think I have nothing else left over to do. So if I forgot anything, all tools and products will be in the description bar below. But baby, lower lash line, inner corner and brows, ain't got nothing on it. So let's get back into these brushes. And just because I want to see what those greens gonna look like popping up against the lower lash line, I'm like, honey, let's go ahead and do it. But first, I need a transition shade. So I'm gonna take my larger pencil brush and we're gonna go up to this matte yellow shade here, Sun Rays, and we're gonna buff this out on the lower lash line first, just to get things set up. All right, for the pencil brush, we're gonna use our Redford 26. We're gonna pick up some, pigmented, honey. Let's tap that off because she didn't come to play. I'm looking at that like, oh yes, ma'am. Let's make sure we start on the outer end and get close because, honey, I want this to buff out beautifully. And I want to start off and see just how much pigmentation she's going to give us. Okay. And I think she's nice enough that I will be able to go ahead and add 2 layers just to make sure she stick out because I have really large eyes. And for the second layer, we're going to start from the front. I want to make sure I have full pigmentation across the entire lower lash line. And she is gorgeous. Trying to see if you all can see that yellow in person. I think it's, oh yeah, that yellow is showing up on camera because I can see her there too. Maybe you know a yellow is good when she show up on the lower lash line. Now that we have that yellow transition shade in, it's time to take a smaller pencil brush and deepen things up. This matte green shade here, Palm Trees, is calling my name, so it's time to dig into it. Baby, Palm Trees is pigmented, so we gonna tap that off because we can come back in for a little bit more. And I'm telling y'all, y'all need to look at this because I can tell she gonna be pigmented. You go ahead and get close up on that. I don't even have to ask, can y'all see that green? Because I know I can see it from here. Baby, let me get me some more because with this brush being smaller, I can't cover the entire eye at one time. But baby, I don't even see me needing a second layer of this. The pigmentation on this. Baby, I know y'all see that green because I can see you. Last 2 steps for the eyes is highlighting our inner corner and our brows. Because I want something really bright for the brow bone, we're going to go into this lighter shade here, Coconut, and we're going to use that shade there. But for the inner corners, I want something that's gonna stand out a little bit more, but still be neutral. So we're gonna come down to this shade here, Hellshire, and we're gonna use that afterwards on the inner corner. Okay, and I picked up very little product for this shade Coconut. I know this is a light brow bone highlight color, but I'm quite sure a shade this light doesn't need much to show up on my skin tone. So we're gonna take, this is a MAC 242 brush, and I'm gonna press this at the very arch first, and you can see that just by pressing it there, you see how bright that is. So what I'm gonna do is fill in just the arch first. We're gonna disperse this product, and then we can come back in and buff her out. Okay, now that we have that there, we're gonna buff her down and out, and I wanna bring her back, not forward, but I want the lightest part to be right at the arch of the brow, and bring her down. Oh yeah, baby. And honestly, I might even be able to add another color on top of that, simply because we done created a base so light. She looking cute. Okay, ain't no point in lying. I want to go back in and add another shade to that brow bone just because it done created a canvas so light. She gonna be gorgeous. But before we dip into that shade, we're gonna go into this shade here, Hellshire, and we're gonna flip our brush and pick this up for the inner corners, because baby, I just want something there to pop before we go in and add a brighter color to the eyebrow. And I'm gonna take this shade here, Hellshire. I want to see, make sure. Yes, ma'am. Do y'all see that? That's all I wanted, was just something bright enough to pop. But I didn't want to use the face highlighter in case you all did not have that. And although she's neutral, baby, she is singing. Like, look at that shade there, honey. She definitely let you know she's there. So now what I want to do, just to give us a little more punch underneath the brows, we're going to go back into this shade here, Lignum Vitae, and we're going to use that on top of the brow bone highlight. In person, I can truly see this shade here, and she looks stunning, but I don't think she's popping the way I want her to on camera. So to make sure she stands out, we're going to put her underneath the brows. And y'all know I always forget to bring me a microfiber cloth, so I got to wipe on the back of my hand. But we're going to take the same MAC 242. We're going to pick up some of this Lignum Vitae shade, and I know we only need a little bit of her, honey. And we're going to go right. I honestly want just the tiniest bit of that original coconut shade to stick out. So we're just going to press this down and leave that peeking out a little bit. And I can see that. Oh yes, ma'am. And we're going to press it down first and then buff her out. We want this to be light enough for it to just barely show that that's a purple shade coming through. And can you all see that? In person, she's definitely showing, but because she's such a pale purple, because we've mixed her with the coconut, not sure if she's going to show through the way we want until we spray her down. But I want to see if you all can see that this shade here now is a little darker, and I think that purple is showing through. Let me come a little closer. You can see this side looks a little more purple compared to this side. Well, I already put a little bit over there, so y'all can't even see it. I'll go ahead and buff this out. All right, you guys, we've added all the colors we're going to add today. It's no point of doing our makeup if we're not going to lock it in place. So make sure you grab your setting sprays, because you know I'm about to grab mine. And you already know the routine. Fix Plus to give us a glowy deal. All nighter so things will last all day. Cheap fan, expensive breeze, good times. I'm going to give this a few more moments to dry, and I'll be back with my final thoughts. And here's the final look. Want to go ahead, give you all a full face view of things before I give you all my final thoughts. And I'm here to let you all know this palette is absolutely beautiful, honey. I'm sitting back looking at this in camera. I'm like, honey, the number one thing I'm trying to check is still see if my face is giving me a white cast, because I'm like, she's still a little brighter than I want her to be. But you know what? For this look, I think she's going to be able to pull her off. So we're going to sit back. Another thing is, baby, I know I done had these 2-strand twists in for quite a while, and I'm looking at them like I just tried to refresh them, you know, spritz them up a little bit. Yeah, it's time to take those bad boys down, honey. They done did their job. Tomorrow they're gonna have to go up and be a nice little curly fro, but they can't go another week, honey. But enough talking about that. We are here, tropiCOLOR palette. First off, let's get into the fact that one, this is a palette from a brand where we are getting more mattes than shimmers. Not only that, we are getting a formula where every single matte shade is beautiful. Do you all know how hard it is to find beautiful, pigmented, buildable mattes? Most brands to me out here on the market can easily create a cute shimmer. When it comes to the mattes, a lot of brands are 50-50. When it comes to sydneygrace, baby, I was loving it. My least favorite eyeshadow color of them all is blue. All of them were beautiful. Give me, ooh-wee, excuse me, honey. Although I had to sneeze, baby, I had to get my hand sanitizer out. Y'all I still got my Milk Cosmetic hand sanitizer. She running low though, so we're gonna have to refill it with something else, but I want to make sure I pick this palette back up. Back to what we were saying though. Very few brands know how to do a good blue. And when I tell you the blue across the lid, this shade here, Waterfall, beautiful. I watched Tina's reveal of this palette, and the one thing she kept saying is she wanted to be able to bring color to those who may not feel comfortable with it. And at first I was sitting back like, but Tina, she know how to do some amazing looks. She know how to do some over the top, some colorful ones. Have you seen her Oldest Eye collab? So I'm like, why didn't these come off out the bat swinging with colors for those metallics? And I had to think about it. That's exactly what she wanted. She wanted something that you can build up to this intensity, because as you all see, we did not foil these shadows. But if you are somebody who just wants a nice soft blue, you can go in and put that first layer on. But if you want something more metallic, you can put it on with your finger. You can use a setting spray. You can use a silicone applicator. You have options to build that up. But everybody may not feel comfortable going in with a straight, bold, metallic blue. I usually don't like them either, but I'm here to tell you, they're gorgeous, honey. They are gorgeous. The fact that I have a yellow and green matte on the lower lash line and they stand out lets you know that those shades are also beautiful. The one shade I did not use that I wanted to use was this black here, because I realized, Torrence, the eyes are already dark enough, and considering the fact they did a matte blue beautifully, I don't see how you can mess up with a matte black. And I am not gonna lie to you all. The palette was already beautiful when I first got her, but you know, I'm feeling myself and I'm feeling my layout, because every time I look at this and I think Torrence, whether you want to go to your neutral half here, which is something that you can use every day, you don't have to worry about it. You can use that for business meetings. You can use that just to go ahead and do a one color eyeshadow look and a crease and be gone. You're good. But y'all know that ain't me. I'm the type who, bam, came straight over here for the colors, wanted something gorgeous, something beautiful. But to me, this does not look like a monochromatic blue palette. She has depth. She has blue, she has green, she has purples. So she has a variety. But when you give them all to me at one time, all at one time, honey, it's nothing but a winner. So if you all were to ask me, Torrence, do you recommend this palette? Absolutely. I love the brand, I love the collaborator, I love the color story. The only two reasons I would say that a person does not need this palette, because y'all know I'm gonna keep it real with y'all every time. The only two reasons is if A, you are the type of person who's just truly not into colors. That's the first reason. If it doesn't matter if it's your birthday, if it's a celebration, if it's a wedding, if you are the type of person who just truly does not do colors, you only want neutrals, if the pink on this left side, if the pink on this left side here make that way too loud and too much for you, then this palette ain't for you, because baby, you see how many more shades you're gonna get. But if you like colors, you're gonna get her. The only other reason I may say you don't want this palette is if you are the type of person who just truly, how can I put it? You're not into bold, colorful metallics. If you don't mind a few matte colorful shades, you're good. But if, say, this shiny blue, this shiny green, this shiny purple, these here don't do it for you, then maybe you may already have a palette in your collection that reminds me of this one. And it wasn't until I got through with everything and was getting ready to cut this camera off that I realized, Torrence, wait, this palette looks familiar. And I just want to give you all one last quick view of this. This is my layout of it that I have here. But doesn't this look a lot like this palette here? Many of you may already have this, and honestly, I've never used it because I never had any desire to. But tell me, how close do these two look? This here is the Lunar Beauty Life's a Drag Facelift palette. This here is my Sydney Grace and the Fancy Face palette. Baby, I've just seen my screen jump, so I was trying to figure out what's going on. But the thing is, if you were to ask me, Torrence, which one would you prefer? I'm definitely going to take that Sydney Grace because I want these bold metallics. And this palette here, it gives off the same vibe, but I've never used it because I don't have any metallic shimmers to go with these mattes. Every time I look at this palette, I look at this left side and go, look how nice and beautiful and neutral that is. You got 9 mattes, 3 beautiful metallics, she good to go. But then you come to this side of the palette and it's like, okay, I see all those colorful mattes, but if I put a purple in the crease, I only got neutral options for the lid. Same thing with that green, that blue, that pink, I only have neutral option. And so although I bought it because I love Manny MUA, I love the brand Lunar Beauty, I think I've collected every palette they have except that, which is it called? That Spellbook Volume 2, I didn't get that one. I have Volume 1. But I think if you're the type of person who has this palette and you don't want colorful metallics, you'll be good. Other than that, honey, you might want to grab you a few coins, hit up the Sydney Grace website and pick this up because I think she is stunning. And what I honestly see me doing, just simply because I like greens, blacks, and other darker shades for my crease, I see me taking these 3 shades right here and using them more often. And I just took my nail right into that one right there. Never fails. But these 3 right here have had my eye since the first time I've opened this palette, and it's taken everything not to pull them out and create me another custom palette with them, but I'm gonna wait because you know what? I just thought about it, Torrence. You got 2 other Sydney Grace palettes that you can use this week, and we can rearrange and have them all doing custom looks, and at the end of the week, we may be able to come out with a custom palette from those, and I think that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna put this to the side because, honey, this look here, I already teased y'all with it on Instagram, but I'm going to visit family and friends because they got to see this. They got to see this. I am loving her, and I ain't gonna lie. Gotta come a little bit closer just so y'all can see, because honey, y'all saw how that under eye was super duper bright. She's still doing the most. She's still too bright, but I think based off my camera, I might be able to get her to work. Right now, I'm looking at my reflection right here, and it's like she is coming off a little dark overall, but I think my complexion is gonna be okay, so we're gonna go ahead and cut this right here, but I bet you we ain't gonna never make that mistake again, because that concealer, she going over there, and I'm gonna put a sticker on her to make sure we don't do this again, because baby, I don't never want to go this bright ever again with my concealer, honey. Giving you a little pinpoint here and there is fine, but all over, she was a struggle today, but you all know I love you. I had to make sure I get this content for you all, and I was not about to start this video over and have to push it back a day. So if you all truly did enjoy the video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you also leave me a comment down below if you all picked up this palette. Once again, Sydney Grace and Sydney Grace and Tina have both said that this palette will be in stock for quite a while. So if you do have the money for it, you can go get it. If you are someone who feels as if you need to save up for it, there will be time to do so. But I'm loving this palette. I think she's absolutely fabulous. I don't see what else I can say besides if you all want a second tutorial with this palette, leave that down below. But we've been talking long enough. I want to go ahead and get all of this stuff cleaned up and get this video edited tonight, so that way I can post it. If I can get it up in time, we can make this alive. If not, I don't want to promise you anything, but I will have this video up on Tuesday. And it's like, Torrence, you can only keep talking for so long. You ain't got nothing else to say. So with nothing else, I hope you all remember to practice, continue to stay blessed, and until next time, goodbye, YouTube.